Hello and welcome. In this video, we will understand how we can perform insert, update and delete using Dapper. To execute commands like insert, update and delete, we can use execute method from the Dapper library. Execute can be used with any non-query commands. Insert, update, delete are just the example of some of the non-query commands. Non-query commands are those that are not intended to return any result set. It will just perform some operation on the database and come out of it without returning any result set. Execute method will return an integer. This is basically the number of rows that are affected by the successful completion of the command. Let's go to Visual Studio and understand this with an example. So this is my product manager application. This is an MVC application, and in this application, to demonstrate insert, update and delete, I have added some controllers. Let me explain what I have done, then we will start the demo. So to create new products, I have added a create controller here, right? And I have added a view also for this. If I go to my views folder, you can see I have views for create, delete and edit. So these are the three new views I have added here. So there are two action method for creation. One will show the view where user will insert the data and we will create a new product in the database, and this particular action method will perform the actual creation of the product. And this is for the updation of the product, so I have named it as edit. So basically the first controller will take the product ID and render the view where user will edit the product, and once the product is edited and user will click on submit, then this particular action method will be called, and this will take the product and update that to the database. And same thing is happening for delete also. But if you notice, for the delete I am using a different name, because for getting the view to delete and to perform the actual deletion, we only need the product ID. Because of that, parameters in both the methods are same, so we cannot use two methods with same parameters in same class. That's why I have changed the name little bit. I am calling it delete product. And similarly, I have added these methods in my service class. So let's first go to the service interface. You can see I have added these three methods: create, edit and delete. Similarly, in the repo interface also, I have added these three methods. Let's see the product repo class also. So in the product repo class, I have added these three methods, but I have not provided the implementation of these three methods, and that we will be doing as part of this demo. First of all, let's run the application and see the current state of the application. So my application is running, and when I click on create new button, it will open a view where I can provide product name, supplier ID and all other details. And if you notice, I cannot provide the product ID because product ID will be generated at the database side. Let's go back. And when I click on edit button, it will open up an edit view. Here I can edit any property that I want, and I can click on save and it will update the product. Okay, now let's go back. And when I click on delete, it will open up the product details, and here I have a delete button. Clicking on this, I should be able to delete this. Currently the delete, update and create will not work because we have not implemented our product repo class. So now let's go ahead and provide the implementation for these three methods. So we will start with the create method first. So let's first write the SQL that we want to execute. So this is the SQL that I want to execute. This is an insert query. So I am saying insert into products. I am mentioning all the column names, and then I am saying the values that I want to insert, and I am adding those values as a parameters here. So this is also gonna be a parameterized query. Okay, so next step is create an SQL connection. Our connection is also ready. Now execute the insert command using the execute method. So I will say connection dot execute, and I will pass down my SQL query here. And after this, I need to pass down the parameters. Parameters will come from the product object. So let's do that. Okay, so I am passing all the products which were mentioned here, and I am passing the values of those parameters here. And guys, if the name of the parameter that you're passing is same as the object property, then you no need to specify the parameter name explicitly. You can just remove that and directly pass the property. So let's do that for all the properties here. By doing this, we have simplified our syntax. Okay, now let's test this out. I will run my application and let's do one thing. Let's put a breakpoint once we are in the create method. Okay, so the application is running. I will click on create new. I will provide some data here. So I have added the data. Let me click on create. Once I click on create, I am in the create method, and if you see, I have received the product object and all the values are available here. Now let's go ahead and continue this and execute the insert command. I will click on continue, and if you notice, I have my new product here added with all the values that we have specified there. So our insert command is working as expected. Now let's implement the edit functionality also. So when I click on edit, so I'm getting the product details back. And now let's go to the repo class and implement the edit method here. And again, first we need the SQL query to update the product. This is my SQL query, and this is also very straightforward. I am saying update products table, and I am setting all the column values here and passing the parameters. And I am specifying the where condition also, where product ID equal to the product ID that I will be passing here. Now let's create an SQL connection and execute this query as well. Here is my SQL connection, and I am executing my command again using the execute method. And if we hover over on the execute method, you can see it is returning an integer, which is nothing but the number of rows that are affected. So now let's run the application. Now let's try to edit our newly created product. So I will click on edit, and let's say I will change the name to my new product 2, and I will change the price also from 10 to 15, and I will click on save. Once I click on save, you can notice my product name is updated and my price is also updated, right? So our edit functionality is also working as expected. Now let's do it for the delete functionality also. So I will click on delete, and it is opening up the delete view. And if you see, we have not implemented the delete functionality. So let's implement delete also. First, write the SQL query. So this is my SQL query. I am saying delete from products table where product ID equal to the product ID that I am getting in this method. Now let's create the SQL connection. Once we have the connection, now we can execute the SQL query. So I can say connection dot execute. I will pass the SQL query, and the parameter in the dynamic object, I will say ID equal to the ID that we have received in this method. Once that is done, we can rerun the application, right? Our application is running, and let's click on delete. It is asking me, do you want to delete this product? I will click on delete, and you can notice my newly created product is now gone. So guys, this is how you can do update, insert, and delete using Dapper, and we can simply use the execute method, and we can pass the SQL query and the parameters if our query is taking any parameter. So that's it for this video, guys. In the next video, we will understand what is difference between buffered and unbuffered queries.